Welcome.
Here it is.
Game of the years, best game of the year, worst game of the year.
Worst lists
for Games for Scrubs.
Right. Games for Scrubs rankings.
Going all the way back from Q4 of 2021 to current.
Right.
So how we did this was we picked our 5 best games each, and then our 5 worst games each, and we gave them a ranking. Best getting 5 points, worst getting 1 point.
Right.
And then we did it for the worst game.
Exactly. We ranked each other's games as well.
And then
added them together.
Totaled them up to get our best and worst games of the year.
Right.
So without further ado, we'll start with the worst games of the year.
Right. And so so we're starting with the worst, but not like the absolute dog shit worst. Is like the of the worst, and then they progressively just get suckier and suckier as this goes on.
There was a tie for the last two, and it was Rainbow Six Extraction, which was my pick, and Elden Ring.
Right, which was my pick.
Extraction, I love Rainbow Six Siege, but Extraction was just kind of forgettable. I know they branched off of the Chimera DLC for Rainbow Six Siege, which was a precursor to Extraction.
Right.
But to me, it never quite captured. I know that the whole kind of deal with it was like they were trying to get like DLC and skins for Rainbow Six Siege if you bought Extraction. But to me, it was just kind of a very forgettable. You bought it for the skins and then never played it ever again. Past that.
Yeah, I liked it. I had fun with it. It was a good co-op shooter, and it was on Game Pass, and I had Game Pass at the time, and so I paid $0, and it was a lot of fun for that. But I think to go into it with the expectation of, oh, cool, we're just gonna go in. You complete a few missions, you shoot some zombies or aliens or whatever they are, monsters. And it's fun. You kind of got to be tactical about it. A lot of times you're like going down into like a nest of them, so you want to be quiet. You can't just like sprint in. It's not like Call of Duty where you're just running and you're just shooting everything.
Yeah.
You have to like be tactical, and then you get to like pick your loadout and go in and say, okay, cool. Well, we might want to do something like this, and coming from the side, so you have to like be tactical and think about that. So like that was fun. And something else too was the destructible environments and stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
That was cool, like how Rainbow Six did that, because I think Siege did that.
I think that game would have been cool, but I think they just needed to like almost do a standalone type Left 4 Dead type shooting game just get rid of the Rainbow Six aspect.
Yeah, that was like a weird part. Like it should have been its own game, and I think it would have been. I mean, I guess they put Rainbow Six on it because they wanted to sell it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like people will buy it for that.
Or
but like if it was a new IP, it would have been cool.
That, or they should have just made it like a $20 DLC.
It should have been $20 from the get.
Here it is. Yeah.
So all in all, it wasn't like a trash game, but
it's
like
just forgettable.
Yeah, it's just like whatever. So that's what we were saying before too. This is our second time recording.
Yeah.
Was that we had to we were looking up what were the worst games of this year. What wasn't so hot, and we both totally forgot that this game.
Yeah, we both saw it. And we're like, oh,
it was just
cool.
Whatever. And we had said before the best way to describe it is fine. It was a fine game, but you're not missing anything.
Yeah. Even if you didn't play it, you're not missing anything.
Right, exactly.
So then the other tie was Elden Ring, which was Joe's pick. I'll say this on my spiel for it. I haven't played it.
Right. So there you go. Right.
That's kind of why I made my list or that's why I was okay with being one of the worst, because I haven't played it. So.
Yep. And so my thing is, what's your history with the From Software games?
I played the first one, which was Demon Souls.
Demon Souls on PS3. And
I played it for 2 to 3 hours, and it was this is so fucking hard, and I just cannot keep this is not going to hold my attention because I'm just getting more and more pissed off.
You just die over and over.
Yeah.
Yes. So that is my experience. I buy every single FromSoft game when they come out, and that's my experience with every single one.
Yeah.
I buy them all for $60 or $70 or whatever, play it for 3 hours, say, I suck at this game, I'm not going to play it again, and yet I still buy them all. So, did that, not with Elden Ring, I got it on a Gamefly sale, actually.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, I want to get everyone talking about how great it is. I want to get into it. I want to try it. And I got Demon Souls Remake was a launch title for the PS5.
Oh, that's right.
And so I got that as one of the big PS5 games.
It had to feel really dated.
Yeah. And it was weird. But it was a remake and from the ground up basically remake. So it played kind of somewhat more modernly. But the exact same thing happened that I made it 5 hours into the game or thereabouts, and we're just all right, cool, this is not for me. I suck at this.
Yeah.
And so again, Elden Ring, I jumped into it, and the exploration is cool, but I don't know, the story is not a lot to grab me. So I'm it's whatever. And I'm playing through it, and it's just it feels like it's the same thing as every other FromSoft game has been. And if that's your cup of tea, then great.
You're gonna love it. Yeah.
More power to you. This game's probably awesome. But it's not mine. Like, and I want it to be. I really want it to be like
Yeah.
my cup of tea, and I really want to enjoy these games. But like something about like I just don't care, and like I cannot
Yeah.
drag myself through it. Although I will say, the other day, a couple weeks ago, I was trying to replay it to see if I could get any further, and I think I got like actually pretty far for me into it. And then all of a sudden, another player like materializes in the world.
Oh yes, yeah.
And then just like comes out of nowhere and kills me. And I was like, cool. And I had to go back to my last bonfire or whatever they're called in this game. You know, Wells of Souls or something, whatever they're called.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, cool. Well, I'm done with this game. Boop. And took that disc out and has not been back in since. So
Yeah.
who knows if I'll go back to it? But like,
Not alluding to
it was
our
fine.
to the best games yet, but there was a certain game that was on that list that I could see me having a similar reaction to Elden Ring because when I went into the game, I thought I'm not going to like this game. You know, some people love it, some people hate it. So I could maybe see myself getting into Elden Ring, and getting grabbed into it. So I'm going to try to check it out.
Yeah.
No guarantees, but
Right.
if I play it, I'll try to make a video of it and put it on this channel because I think it'd be fun to watch me
we can stream
rage
it.
for.
Right. Yeah, it's something.
hours.
Yeah, I want to get into it, so we should try it.
And
just
there is
to
a co-op,
see, like,
so we do want to try.
Right,
to play
like I want to love these games. I really want to get into
Same.
them. It's really hard for me to. So.
Yeah, and this,
But-
yeah,
But and that's also why it's literally the bottom of the list of worst games. Like I'm not saying it's totally trash, you know, but like it's just like of this year, like it was like whatever. I understand the hype, and I'm glad people loved it, but like it is just not for me. Like me personally, on this personal list,
I think a lot of people
it's
will
like
share
just not that great.
this opinion that like if these games aren't for you, you're just gonna be
Right,
like, I
exactly.
don't care
Like,
about this game.
Right,
Like,
they are just not. This is not the one that will change your mind.
Yeah,
Like if you are like, oh, I've played them all before and I don't like them, this one is not making you love them.
yeah.
So,
But if you like it,
yeah,
It's
you'll
probably a
still
great
like this.
game,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's great. I'm sure there's a lot of innovations that they did, and they changed a lot of nuanced things. I'm sure. I just don't know what they are.
So next we had another tie for Lego Star Wars: The
Skywalker Saga. Yep.
and Gran Turismo 7.
Okay.
Which we want to talk about Legos first, and then
Sure.
Lego was his choice again.
Yep. Have you ever played any of the Lego games?
I've played all of them other than the new 3 movies,
Okay, so this one.
and I played Indiana Jones.
Okay, so you
I
get
played
the
the Lego
idea
games,
of Lego games.
Yeah,
I loved the Lego games.
yeah, I thought they were sick. I thought
They
really
were just
fun.
always fun. They were just pure fun.
Yeah,
You know. And I especially loved the Batman ones, of course.
I didn't play the Batman ones, but yeah, those
they're
were,
so good, like so much fun, and it's like, and like the Marvel ones were really good too, because it's just like all the characters you can think of from these respective universes.
thrown
You know,
into
all
one.
the from like either DC or from Marvel or Harry Potter, or whatever. It's like the most like crazy nuanced characters, right? That you never think of, and they make a Lego character and they have special powers and they're fun, whatever.
But
So-
what I did like about the Lego games too
Yeah.
is I think they followed the movies very well.
Yes.
Like I think, ironically, I think they're some of the best movie adaptation games, which is kind of
100%.
hilarious.
Yep. And that's what's cool is and I like when they do like the Batman ones and some of the Marvel ones were their own stories. They
Yeah.
were like new,
So they
unique
wasn't
stories,
following
so it
the
was cool.
movie.
Right, so they got to do whatever, and like that was a lot of fun. But with this one, it was like different. They spent like a lot of time, and it got delayed like 3 or 4 times.
Well, and that's the thing. It kind of came out at a weird time because there wasn't really a lot of like Star Wars things going. Like the movies had already been out.
Right,
for a couple
exactly.
Years
Yeah,
now.
like everything was over. It was basically like everything on Disney Plus was happening.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Bad Batch, I think, was happening or was like
Mandalorian.
still there.
I think
Mandalorian
had just come
maybe
out.
was still happening. Yeah, well,
Or maybe
was
it was
that
Book
this
of-
year?
or maybe
That
it was
this
Book of-
year.
I think
I
it
think
was,
that's what it was.
I forgot because Book of
Oh,
Boba
no,
Fett was
Obi-Wan.
basically 2.0. Well, Obi-Wan came out this
Obi-Wan
year,
was coming out, and
but
so
I think Book
that's
of
when
Boba
this
Fett
came
had
out.
come out right because this came
Also
out
this
kinda
year?
early this year.
Yeah, in
didn't
like
it?
April or something.
I think that's when Book of Boba Fett came out. So, I
Okay,
think
so yeah,
that
so
was-
there's like a little bit of Star Wars hype, but like whatever. But this one is, it's not even like that they took the original trilogy and the whatever trilogy and like just like put those all on one disc together with the new ones. It's a complete remake of all the movies.
yeah.
So each movie, so it's all 9 movies, and there's 5 levels in each movie that you play through.
Yeah.
And that's like the structure that they do. And of course there's tons of collectibles and there's tons of like destructible stuff and like I said, like all the characters. This has like the most characters ever in a Lego game. Whatever. But I'm playing through it and like I'm going through the movies and I really want to beat it. And it's like the same thing as the movies, but then like it has like the Lego like humor in it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, some of this is kind of dumb.
Are we just
Like-
too old for these games?
that's kind of where I'm going. Is I think I've outgrown the Lego games.
Yeah.
And it made me really sad to hit that realization. Like I'm playing it, and it's like Kylo Ren is there, and like the entire new trilogy is just shitting all over Kylo Ren and like calling him a baby and like all these things. Which like sure you can make that stance from the movies, whatever, but like it's like whoa, ease up. Like so playing through it, and so then you have to relive all these stories in the Lego form with like a way like neutered version of the story, which like I understand they only have 5 missions to tell it, but whatever. But then you get to like the collectibles and stuff, and it's like every collectible, it's like the gold bricks that you have to get and everything. It's like the way that you unlock all of them is the exact same way for every brick. It's like, come over here, pull this lever, climb this ladder, and then punch this button 3 times.
Super repetitive.
And then you get one. And it's just the same thing over and over again.
Funny not to allude to our best game of the year, but I would say that also is a repetitive game. But yeah.
But yeah, I'm just like, this is like not it. You know, like I can't do it. And so I was talking to my buddy at work about it, and he said exactly what you do. He was like, yeah, you think we just like outgrew him? Because he had very similar feelings. And he's like, yeah, I just think like the Lego games are not for me. Like if you are like a 7-year-old kid who loves Star Wars and you get to see the Mandalorian and you get to create your own Jedi with whatever color lightsaber you want, and then play with Mace Windu and Yoda and all the random ass like Salacious Crumb and like all these stupid Star Wars characters, you know. I'm sure it's awesome, and like and there is a lot of meat in this game. There's hours and hours of content. It's just you're doing the same thing over and over again, and I'm like, this is not what I want.
So maybe if you've never played the other Star Wars Lego games, maybe
right? If you've never played, if this is like your first Lego game, you're probably gonna love it. But like whatever, and if you're not that attached to Star Wars, like me, like I'm not that super into Star Wars, I'd say that's not enough to like get me to care. But like if this was Batman and like DC, I would have cared, and I would have powered through all of the repetition and the boring and the whatever for it, just because I like that property so much. Yeah. But like Star Wars is not it for me, so that's why I made this list.
And then for GT7, I'll try to keep it short and sweet. To me, you could buy Gran Turismo Sport for $10 on PS4. Mm-hmm. It is more or less the exact same game that you got in GT7. I felt that the upgrades, you got a few new tracks, maybe, but like you barely got any new cars. They have this weird, they release new stuff every month, but I just don't care. All of the like race cars, the newest one was from like 2016. Oh wow. They didn't have any of the new modern hypercars. They had added in later, which is like the top end Le Mans type stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't want to get too like nerdy about it, but like it felt like it was a DLC to GT Sport.
Okay. Was GT Sport like a full release of a game? Okay, because I thought GT Sport was like a DLC release for like
no, it was a full-fledged.
Okay,
like,
I didn't know that was.
It was hyper focused on online racing.
Okay,
and like the esports side of Gran
Turismo. Okay, but that was like a full like $60 release.
Yeah,
okay.
when it released. When it came out first.
Okay.
Yes,
gotcha.
So to me, I think GT7.
Right.
It was just it was lacking enough content to be a full. And I paid $100 because I bought the special edition.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's really repetitive. In the beginning of the game, it's super microtransaction heavy. Mm. So one of the things was when I bought the super special edition, I got like 1 million credits in the game. So for me, I was kind of ahead of the curve and didn't have as many microtransactions. But apparently, if you bought just the bog standard version, you had like no money. You didn't get that much money for races. People were like doing exploits to like break the economy, like doing like a singular race over and over again just to grind. So it was just, to me, it was like, it just felt like a broken game from the beginning, and it wasn't enough content to keep me around. I think the racing also, from like a physics aspect, it does not feel as good as, let's say, an iRacing or a Assetto Corsa. I think there are better racing sim games out there.
Which makes sense.
The only thing I will give credit to it is that I think you can play with a wheel or a controller, and it actually feels good on both.
Okay.
Whereas I feel like, I think like a driving racing game, like a better one would be like Forza Horizon. Okay. I think those are probably, they're blow Gran Turismo 7 out of the water in terms of a driving game. So I think there are better driving games, and then I think there are also better simulator racing sims.
Okay. Yeah,
so GT7 kind of falls in the middle.
Right, because Horizon's not a simulator.
No, it's
that's like a Need for Speed
almost. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that there are games that do driving games way better, and I think there are simulators that do it way better.
Okay.
So I think the only reason why I'd ever recommend to get GT7 is if you want a racing sim on PlayStation.
Okay.
And that's about it. And that's kind of where
Gotcha.
it says. Again, is this the worst game I've ever played? No, but as a $70 game, it just felt like a slap in the face.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
And this was supposed to be like a full-fledged, let's show off what the PlayStation 5 can do.
Right.
And there are levels like the Nürburgring where if you look at the trees, right off the side of the track, you can tell it's a one-dimensional.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, that looks awful.
Yep.
And I'm supposed to be like impressed by this. Like, this is supposed to be like a full-fledged PlayStation title. I was like, this is just disappointing. So,
yeah.
that's why.
That's sad. Yeah. Yeah, my history with Gran Turismo is I think the last one I played was 4.
And that's the thing, a lot of the Gran Turismo's previous were like amazing and like
Yeah.
revolutionary.
Whenever it was on PS3, which was 4 Prologue
Yeah,
or
I
something.
think.
Whatever that was.
Like I said, to me, it's just there are other games that
Yeah.
that do each aspect better.
Okay.
So it's
all
just
right.
it's just kind of like
Right. What
Right.
was Gran Turismo 6 on PS4?
yeah.
I don't even remember that game
I
coming
don't
out.
even know.
Because I remember 5 came out when the PS4 like launched.
I think
And it was a PS3 game, and everyone was pissed. And they're like, "Why? The
Oh,
PS4 is
yeah.
already out. Why is
Yeah.
this game not cross-gen?" Like, what are you
yeah, and I
talking
think
about?
that's also kind of what hit
So-
this one was that it was this weird like I think they wanted it to be a PS5 game, but they
Yeah.
realized they couldn't
Right,
do
so
that.
they had to do
it
it
with
for PS4.
PS4. And I
So
think it just,
Gran Turismo 7 is also on PS4.
yes.
Oh,
and I just
okay.
think and so if you have PS4 and you want a racing game, I'd say get it. If you have PS5, I'd
Yeah.
say
Don't.
sell it and buy a PC and get iRacing.
There you go. Right. If you want to do racing
Yeah,
games.
yeah, if you wanna
Right,
do
yeah,
racing,
exactly,
yeah.
if that's what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
the next one on this list is the next tie was Formula One 2022
Okay.
and Nintendo Switch Sports.
Okay.
I'll just do F1 2022 real quickly because neither of us have this. There's a reason why I don't have it. It's just a reskin. It's the classic EA pump out update the rosters and just pump out a game.
Gotcha.
They added a bunch of like bullshit season pass crap. That's
Okay.
like fuck
Typical
this.
EA.
Yeah. If you like the Formula One games and you want the new content, cool.
Okay.
It's just a classic EA pump and dump.
So this is like a sports game.
Yes.
It's
an EA Sports.
right. So
yearly
it's like
release.
FIFA, like FIFA 22,
Yes.
FIFA 23. All those come out every year.
Yeah.
F1. This is their version of that,
Yes.
which is the same thing. Okay.
Yeah.
But like, say like something else, like you guys do like a set of Corsa,
Yeah.
and like those are not annual releases.
No.
Okay.
No, they
Those
just
are, like,
release
make one and do
content.
it. Okay.
Yeah, as it goes on.
Gotcha. So yeah, so I can't imagine that so much would change.
No, it doesn't. It
from
literally
year to year to year.
it literally is basically a reskinning of 21.
Okay. So
And-
like all their sports games.
yeah, all their sports games.
Okay.
And so that's why I'm kind of putting this. I'm putting this pretty low because it's like, it's just like do better in my opinion. I don't know.
Right.
Like it's just there's such a word. There's so many better games. Like I'd say
Mhm.
GT7 is better.
Right, yeah,
than-
that's how we ranked
it's
it.
literally
So,
ranked. Like I would
right.
say buy GT7 before I'd say buy
Okay.
F1 because it's just not. Yeah,
Right.
and honestly, if anything, I'd say wait for Formula One. It inevitably goes down to like $40 like a month after the game comes out. So just
Okay.
wait and
Yeah.
buy it.
Which
because-
makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's like any other sport game.
Yeah.
Like always
So-
go and say whatever, or just wait till next year when the other version.
Everyone-
comes out, you
yeah.
know, like
It's
Right.
just it's super forgettable. It's
Dang,
super boring.
okay.
There's nothing exciting about it. If you like the Formula One games, you're gonna buy it. You're not gonna care what we say
Right.
anyways. But
so what is that though? Like what's in an F1 game? Why is that different than say like a set of Corsa or like some other one? Just like the controls are different, or
No, I mean like
like
so
the cars
F1
and
has
the
like
tracks?
and they have like all the official branding of Formula One stuff. So they have all the teams, all the drivers, all the
oh, but, like,
sponsorships,
the other
all the
games don't have
tracks.
that.
Not all the games. A lot of the other games don't have F1 cars.
Oh,
And they don't have all the people, and they have the tracks because they race other disciplines on that in that game. But Formula
I
One has
see.
all the official like
I see.
Formula One
Okay, that makes
stuff.
sense. So like because you're not racing like cars in that game.
No.
But like Gran Turismo, you're racing like a real car.
Yeah.
And you're not saying that F1 cars are real, but you know what I mean.
Yes, yeah,
But like, okay, that makes sense. But like, so do you get to pick like your racers and stuff in that?
yes,
So like, I could like pick to be Max Verstappen.
yes.
And like drive his car
Yes,
and all that.
yes.
Okay, that's kind of cool though.
It
like,
is
if you're
cool.
into that.
And that's what I'm saying.
But-
If you're into that, it's
Right.
cool. But like,
but I think it'd be cool for your first one. So say like if you've never had an F1 game before and you
Yeah.
want to get an F1 game,
you should buy the newest one.
get the newest
Yeah, you should buy the
one,
newest one.
and then don't buy another one for 5 years.
Yeah.
So if you have,
Well, I
if
don't know
you
if I'd
have
say that.
21, you know what I mean though.
Yeah.
Like so if you have F1 21, just keep that and don't
Yeah.
buy this because it's just.
And I think you'll get more. I think you'll get more value out of a game like GT7 that will have continued support over a couple of years.
Right. That
Rather
makes
than
sense.
literally every year you're spending
Mhm.
$70 for very minor changes.
Right.
And this is a weird one too that I think it had PS4, PS5. So if you have a PS4, you're maybe getting a better deal. If you have a PS5, you're getting a
On F1?
Yeah, you're getting a
okay.
reskinned PS4 game and paying $10 extra for it, which is like
Yeah, dumb. That's right.
Fuck
EA,
you,
man.
EA.
That's the EA tax.
so
Yeah.
F1. So Nintendo Switch Sports.
Yeah. So this was supposed to be like the huge like. So you Wii Sports.
Wii Sports. Yep.
And everybody knows Wii Sports, and everybody loved Wii Sports, and
Yeah.
it had the bowling, and it had the tennis, and the baseball, boxing, all that. And everybody loved it, and it was Grandma was playing, and it was a blast, right?
You were
It was
throwing
so much fun.
Wii remotes to TVs.
Exactly right. That's what I'm saying. That was the high point of the internet. You know what I mean? That was like perfect memes. And so Nintendo says, "All right, well, the Switch is doing just as good, if not better, than the Wii did in terms of how many consoles they've sold." And they're like, "So we should try and recapitalize on this awesome sports game." So they announce it. They say, "Hey, these are the games that are coming out." Everyone's like, "Oh, this is awesome. This is great. Like, this is exactly what we want. Perfect. We'll play it." And then they say, "We're going to support this game with future updates. We're going to add sports to this game for free and free content updates over as time goes on. We'll keep adding different games to it." Great. So you get it, and the games it launched with was tennis, bowling, badminton, volleyball, and soccer.
And do you use the
Wii
the Joy-Cons?
Yes.
Like as
Oh,
like,
yes.
like a Wii?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Joy-Con. Yeah. And so then they're fun. Like bowling is like just as good as you remember Wii bowling being. Tennis sucks because the other tennis was you had like the two people in it, whatever.
Yeah,
Which
like
this you do have teams of two, but it like the way that you play is like so just like boring and just like basic movement, like whatever. There's no innovation.
I was gonna say, are we past the gimmick of motion control?
Right. So like we're getting to there, but like, and that's what's tough because it is fun. It's like with Mario Party or like Mario Kart, you're like, there's strategy in Mario Kart, but like you're just like holding A and like steering a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just like you're not like doing so much there. But with this, it's like, oh, you think that would be fun to like bring back and all that, and it is fun because like the bowling with motion is fun. And the tennis is like whatever. Volleyball is fun.
Yeah.
Badminton sucks because badminton is the same as tennis. So it's like, why did you put two
it's too
racket-based games in there, which was a bad move. And then soccer is cool because you can get a leg strap thing that you just put on your leg.
Really?
And you stick a Joy-Con in there, and as you kick, you'll kick the ball, and like that's how you kind of do it. So like it's fun, and like it's fun to like try out a few times, and like if you want it for like as like a cardio exercise thing, they can like there's like a mode that you can do like a cardio
that's
thing.
Kind of cool.
And I was like, that's neat. Like good for you guys for doing that. There's a whole online component, so you can do it all online.
Yeah,
that's awesome. And you can go and do leaderboards, and so like my mom when we were playing when it came out like around Easter time was like almost top of the leaderboard in bowling because she just kept playing it, and she was like top like 2,000 in the world.
That's funny.
Like in bowling, and it's like, okay, mom, like way to go, and she loved it. So like that's why it's like fun, but
I just feel
after a week,
it's very gimmicky. And
it's done,
like,
and it's like, oh, that kind of sucked, And like they try to give you like season pass stuff that you didn't have to buy; it was just a free pass
to like bring you back to the game,
and it would give and you had 10 things you could unlock. So you could unlock like skins. You could unlock like stickers for your locker. You could like you have like a customized decorating locker. You can get different like the items that you use can be different. So, like you can have like a gold bowling ball. You can get like a different themed bowling ball or a different color racket, or use a purple volleyball or a blue soccer ball or whatever, right? Like whatever you want. And it's like, okay, that stuff's kind of cool too. And then after like 3 weeks or whenever the season ended or whatever, just that stuff was gone. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of dumb. Like, what if I wanted to unlock everything? Yeah. So like that was a bad move. The online sometimes was really laggy in a lot of the sports.
I feel like that's just the Switch's online platform is not very stable.
It is, and so it's a lot of like their games, but like something like Smash Brothers works great online. Mario Kart, great online. Splatoon, great online. Mario Kart
it's like that. I've had issues with Mario Kart. Really? That's what I was going to use as my reference point was that like I've gone to play Mario Kart with people and like halfway through someone's just like, oh, why did my game freeze? And you're like, what? No, it didn't. And then it's like, oh, they Maybe it's just bad internet, but
right, and that I think is part of it too. But I think Nintendo's been doing a lot better with trying to like get more things online.
Which I think is good.
Which is nice, yeah. Until we talk about our next game, but one of the next games, so like their online just fall apart. But the biggest like kick in the teeth for this game is that they say, oh, we will have continued updates. We will have continued support for this game to bring new sports to the game. And the first one they were going to add in like the fall of 22, they said, which at the time that this game came out was like 4 months away, they were going to add golf because it did not launch with golf. And it was going to have like the 22 courses that Wii Sports had remastered for this. And it was going to be super cool. And everyone's like, oh, great, we can play it. And as of right now, I still don't even know if it came out. Because it was supposed to come out in the fall, and then it got delayed, and they're like, oh, yeah, it's going to come out in 2022 sometime before the end of 2023. And, like, as of, like, November, I think, like, it still hadn't come out.
Jeez.
So, like, I don't even know if it's out. I haven't looked. I've tried to update my game, and it says, you have the latest update. So I'm like, I don't even know if it's there. And it's like, cool, so you've not yet been able to add one new game to this game yet.
Yeah,
like,
so it's just...
where's the continued support we were supposed to get?
Yeah.
So it's like that just, like... That's like a bummer, you know, like it wore off way too fast. And I feel like this is something that could have had so much potential that it didn't wear off.
Yeah.
You know, like this could have been just as good as like, say like a FIFA or an NBA 2K or like whatever that are also repetitive. You're doing the same thing over and over again in those games. But like, it's fun. And this has like the Nintendo cartoony fun spin on it.
Yeah.
And yet they did nothing.
Because I was going to say that, like, what would stop me from... I feel like people who are like, playing sports games want to play FIFA, 2K,
right,
Madden.
Exactly. And this is just all in one. But the co-op ability, I think, is what's really big, and Nintendo knows that, and they like really hone in on that. So like it is fun. Like, you know, if all three of us were playing bowling together, that's fun to do for a night. Or whatever.
Yeah.
And so like that's fun. But past that, it's like, I don't care anymore. So, and that's what sucks. I really wish it would have like had more staying power.
Yeah.
But it didn't. So right.
Okay, so our next game. Call of Duty Vanguard, which I know that's kind of the stretch of
right. Yeah.
Well, this I
think. What's that?
When did this come out?
Yeah.
But that was the game that like you played mostly in 2022.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. Because it was Call of Duty's. Yeah.
Didn't come out until
right. Yeah. But that game only out for 2 months.
Yeah. And just to kind of like not to get really nerdy and kind of like opinionated with Call of Duty, but I'm just saying like I just think everything it did it took away from the COD community. Like no one like it didn't bring people like the Modern Warfare's bring people back in. Like they market it and it's like it's almost like a cultural thing that people talk about Modern Warfare. Vanguard was just a step backwards. It was World War II. The last few games were modern-ish day shooters. So then you have the Warzone component, and then they announced it. So everyone was like, "Well, how are they going to have World War II with Modern Warfare weapons?" Like, and so what they did was they basically made up a bunch of bullshit and said like, yeah, these guns probably didn't exist, but like here we are. And then they added in so much dumb crap, like the skins. They added in like King Kong and Godzilla, so people were like, running around as King Kong and Godzilla in Warzone. Okay. Yeah, the Vanguard multiplayer, it was fine. It just was so again forgettable and just like it didn't bring anyone who didn't play Call of Duty into Call of Duty. Right? I think the Modern Warfares do that.
Sure.
Because like, when was the last time like you really sat down and played a COD? Was Black Ops Cold War?
Was Cold War before that?
And
was Cold War the one right before Vanguard?
Yes.
Okay, so I loved Cold War, as you know, and you hated it.
It's okay. That's a different story.
So I played that, and then this one I looked at it, saw what it was about, and I go, I don't need to play that.
Exactly, and I think that's what the majority of people said about that.
Right, and I'm not even like a Call of Duty person really,
and you know. So not to bring in Caldera, but Caldera was just a horrible map for Warzone. In my opinion, it made me stop playing Warzone altogether. So Vanguard made me actively stop playing Call of Duty, and I love Call of Duty. So I just couldn't bring myself to play it. It was just boring and again, was it buggy? Did it not work? No, it worked. It was fine. It was Call of Duty. Of course, it's going to work.
Game.
Like it's a AAA title with millions of dollars behind it.
Right.
But for them, it was just like gimmicky and stupid.
Sure.
And it was very. No one's going to talk about Vanguard in 5 years from now. People will still talk about the Modern Warfares, the jetpack CODs.
Right.
Like, people can talk about World at War, like it was really old World War II games.
Right.
But everyone's going to be like, oh yeah, Vanguard. Like, that was the thing.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I was going to ask was, how long ago has it been since we've had, when did Call of Duty World War II come out?
2018.
Okay, so that was right before Modern Warfare came back.
Yes.
So I feel like it's not even been that long, and it's cool. Here's another World War II.
I think Call of Duty World War II
different.
It kind of got crapped on, but it was a very true World War II. They didn't add like they added the Advanced Warfare laser rifle
Mhm.
in the end of Vanguard, and I was like, what the hell is this?
Oh.
Like what? Like so it was like
dumb.
yeah. So
So-
I think they like realized that like the World War II thing was like not
Yeah.
gonna work,
Right.
and they tried to like get weird with it, and it was just like this is silly and dumb.
Gotcha.
So,
How was the campaign though?
fine?
Oh, okay. Not even like a good one.
forgettable. They
Okay.
tried to make it like there's a woman in Call of Duty. That was like the whole selling point. And I'm like, is the bar really this low that
Right.
like we have to like try to
Yeah.
like teach people not to be pieces of shit to like other genders by
That's right.
adding a woman in Call of Duty? Like,
Of course.
this is stupid.
Yeah.
And then they tried making it like, oh, the Fourth Reich, like it's like the Nazis had like a secret division that tried. It was like I don't care.
Yeah.
Like I just don't care. Like
That sucks.
yeah, I don't know. You know what? I almost wish they would have done something like Wolfenstein esque.
Oh, that would have been cool. Right, like
Where
an
because
alternative history
I love Wolfenstein,
Mhm.
and that's what it was. It was trying to be like an alternative history, but I think that would have if they just hooked that angle, they could have put in all this weird bullshit weaponry,
Right,
and it
yeah.
would have been like, oh, this is kind of fun. Like,
Right.
so I think if they did
Well,
like
yeah,
a
well-
whole like more like maybe kind of scary Wolfenstein zombie,
Yeah.
and they could have brought the whole COD zombies thing that
That's what I
people
was just
love.
gonna say. Like, think about it. Like, that was like World War II and like whatever.
Yeah.
And that was zombies, and it's like, whoa, like what? Like,
and
what are
I'm
you
not a
talking
huge
about?
fan
You
of
know,
the
that's
zombie
fun.
mode, but like I know people love that,
Right.
and I think they could have done something very cool,
yeah,
Wolfenstein-esque, and gotten kind of experimental. But they got experimental with. We'll see how many bullshit skins we can
right.
sell.
There you go.
rather
Right,
than
of course, the money.
Actually,
And so, who
making it
developed
good.
this one?
Raven Software, I think it
Oh.
was. Oh no, Sledgehammer.
Okay, and they have also done.
They did Advanced Warfare.
Okay, they're like the newest one.
Yeah,
The newest.
yeah, they're
team.
the third team that they've added in, which I loved. I loved.
Advanced.
They did World War II as well, so I think.
Oh, okay.
So they did COD World War II, which I actually really did.
I like
enjoy.
that story mode. I
Yeah.
didn't play the multiplayer much, but I
And
really
they
liked the
did
story
Advanced
mode.
Warfare, which I really liked.
Mhm.
So I think they've done good CODs. This one
Yeah.
was just like, this is stupid.
Yep.
Like I don't even know what they were trying to do with this
Right.
one. That was just forgettable and
Dumb.
dumb. Yeah. So
All right, cool.
and that was my pick. Not
Right.
that this. So
And what's funny, real quick too, last thing to add to that was I feel like that was like the game that was the catalyst for
for this video,
we need to even
yeah.
have like a word. Yeah, he's like, I just want to talk about the worst video game I've ever played. It's Call of Duty Vanguard, so we got to make a
I
video
think
about
if
it. Like,
if this other game that we will get to wasn't on the list, I think that Vanguard would have been that. But
oh
there
yeah,
was one that trumped it,
yep.
and
mhm,
we'll get to
mhm,
that.
mhm.
So
Okay, so next is
Pokemon Scarlet
oh okay.
and Violet
Yep.
and Mario Strikers.
What was tied with Vanguard? Nothing.
Nothing.
Oh okay, cool. All right, so so this was a tie. 2 Nintendo games on this list, which is gets
I
me
know,
right
I
here.
know.
Like it's tough, but these are some of like the worst games that have launched in like horrible states
Yeah.
ever, and it makes no sense.
Which one do we want to talk about first?
We'll talk about Pokemon first,
Okay.
because you played that one.
Yeah. So
yeah.
here was what I will say about Pokemon. So when I played it, I didn't think it was like the worst game I'd ever touched.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, you know what, this is okay. Like this is kind of cool. Like because I was thinking back to like the last Pokemon game I probably played was literally like Red and Yellow,
Mhm.
like Game Boy
Right.
Color, Pokemon games.
Right.
And Pokemon really just isn't my thing. But like when I was playing this, I was like, yeah, I can see this is kind of cool. But I was like, but I feel like I'm playing a Nintendo like DS game, and
Right.
and I maybe realize I'm playing a full-fledged flagship console.
Right.
This is what sells Switches game, and it was like, oh,
Mhm.
like we're playing a game in 2022 or
Yeah.
and I'm having to read text for
Right.
speech. There's not a ounce of voice dialogue
Right,
in this
exactly.
game.
Right.
And it's like, okay. So everything about it took me away from my experience that maybe I would have really enjoyed and loved this game. And it just, like I said, it just felt like I was playing a Game Boy game.
Mhm.
And I know that the Switch sort of is a big advanced Game Boy, but
Right.
it's,
Sure.
to me,
But it
I
can
would-
handle. It can do better than that though. And that's the
exactly.
thing.
And like
Like the fact it runs like The Witcher and like even like Smash Brothers and like there are other Nintendo
Skyrim,
games. Right, like look at like Breath of the Wild,
Breath of the
even,
Wild, yeah.
and like Mario Odyssey, like these huge games. Look how gorgeous Mario Kart is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With the lights and particle effects and whatever. So like the Switch can handle games,
and this just
but it's like
Fell
they
so
just didn't.
flat.
And
this came out like really recent. Too.
Yeah,
so this
November.
was not like early 2022.
Right.
This was like no, they should know.
Right, they had time, and they've been working on it like for years because they do it in cycles.
Yeah.
Like it's almost very Call of Duty esque. in that they have like their A team, their B team, and then it's an annual release. But like one team is working on it.
Is this like their A team?
Yes.
And it,
yes.
That's sad. That's bad. Because Arceus and we'll get to another one,
right.
Legends, but
right.
Like you said, those are both really good, and I remember watching people play Arceus, and I was like,
that's what Legends is.
Oh, okay,
It's the same game.
Yeah. And I was like, damn, that looks like good. Like that looks like a modern Pokemon game, like the graphics, 3D rendered models. You know, like the battles are good. I don't know if that had voice lines. Okay, well, whatever.
But Pokemon never will, probably.
Yeah, so maybe that's an unfair thing to say, but
but it should. That's the thing, is that it should. It never will because it's dumb, but it should.
Like the shows have dialogue. Like why can we not just have? Yeah. Why can't you hire a voice actor? Like that's, in my opinion, that's really dumb. Have the text on the screen and a voice actor.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Just do both. Yeah. So it's just a mess, and the problem is with this one, and why like I ranked it so high was like I was so excited for this game to come out because this is the first like really next gen game on the Switch, because like Sword and Shield came out in 2018. And that was like that was Generation 8, and that was the first one that ever was on the Switch. That was like the first like new Pokemon game on the Switch. And it's like, oh, that's awesome. Like, we can see what they do. And it was like, fine. But it's like, it's always been that the first Pokemon game on the new hardware is the worst one. It's like worse. And then when they because it's them figuring out how to use the system and everything, whatever. And so then when the next generation launches on that same console, then they do like something more adventurous with it, or they do something different, and
they've already
better.
Kind of cut their teeth
they know what they're doing, right? But for this, it's like that was not the case, because they definitely tried to be more ambitious, which everyone appreciates. The fact that it is open world and you get to go wherever you want, and there's like 3 or 4 different quest lines, So
professional,
right? I know. The fact that there's like 3 or 4 different quest lines and like all these different things is crazy for Pokemon. Like it's wild that is like in a Pokemon game. It is like open world.
It's there,
right? And like this is what everybody has wanted for so long, of just like, hey, let us loose in the Pokemon world and just let us explore and do whatever we want. No. I don't know what that is. Oh, I just started a timer somehow.
I like imagine like if they took a Breath of the Wild type game and just put Pokemon in it.
And that's what this was supposed to be, and that's how they marketed this game and told us that's what this would be. And its skeleton, it is that. Because you're walking around, there's no more random battles. Remember, in the old games you had to walk through the grass, and it was just like a random battle. It would
like now you have to like walk up to
now
the
you
Pokemon.
See where the Pokemon is, and you can walk over and choose to engage with it.
Or you can like walk around it.
Exactly, which is new.
I think which is good.
Everybody does. And there's no longer random trainer battles where like if you walk in front of a trainer, you automatically go into a battle. Now you have to talk to the person to initiate that you want to start the battle, which makes sense, and as it should be.
Yeah.
So it's like there's little things like that work, but then it's stuff like the glitches, which I know you said you haven't seen too many, but like it's horrible. Like the way people like clip through the earth and just like fall down, just like eternally are just falling, right? There's things where like characters will randomly like fly across the screen just like T-posing like this. They're supposed to be walking and they're just flying across the screen, right? When you're when you're far away from somebody, the frames, it's like literally like 3 frames a second, and
maybe
you just see something like moving.
Maybe I just didn't really
as they're doing
see it, or maybe it's not like, oh, this is the same complaint. I feel like I'm playing a Game Boy game.
Right, exactly, and playing it like on the Switch screen, like portable mode, it's maybe not as noticeable. But like playing it like on a TV, like on a big flat screen TV, it's way more noticeable. So it's like, how is the frame rate still this bad? Like, how is the graphic? Like, how is everything so like jaggedy? Like all the lines of the characters are all just jagged and whatever. And it's like,
would this be a game that might run better on the OLED?
No. So the OLED has nothing like hardware wise better.
Better screen.
It's just a better screen. There's nothing internally that's better about it.
I wasn't really sure about that.
Yeah. So it's like, guys, you were the biggest media franchise in the world, and you make billions of dollars. You're bigger than Harry Potter. You're bigger than Marvel. You're bigger than Star Wars. Like in the world.
Yeah.
How can you not make a video game? Like, what are you doing?
I feel like they just don't have that like vocal like community like COD, but like COD, like if there's like even the minus thing that's like
Yeah.
like minor thing that's like messed up, like
Mhm.
people are on Twitter screaming like
Sure. And I think Pokemon does have that very like international, like the Japanese people are like that. But I think with them, and it's kind of, I would say it's probably similar to COD too, like thinking about it. But like Pokemon in its first like 3 days or something sold 10 million copies,
it's a lot.
which is mind blowing, right?
Yeah.
Like it's crazy, like that it can sell like that. And there was that, you know, that was because of pre-orders and whatever. So people didn't know how the game was, but like 10 million, it's the fastest selling like video game like of all time that's sold like in 3 days. Like nothing else has sold 10 million units like in that fast, right? So it's like breaking all kinds of records, whatever. And so it's like Game Freak is going to look at that, who develops the game. They're going to look at that and say, okay, we released this game that we didn't put actually all that much work into.
Yeah.
We released it like shit. It has all these bugs. The frame rate's terrible. And we're breaking all kinds of sales records because
like,
it's selling so well. Why are we going to stress about making it better?
Yeah.
Let's just do this again.
Yeah.
And so that's what I think there's no motivation for them. It'd be like, if this game sold 4 copies, then they'd be like, ooh, fuck, why did we fuck this up?
Yeah.
Then they'd be more motivated to like actually fix it. But as long as they're still like pulling in all the money, they're never going to fix it. So it's like, it just makes me sad. Or they can look at it, the optimistic way would be, they look at it and say, oh my god, we sold 10 million copies, we better fix this and make this the best Pokemon game ever because we want to sell DLC to this game later, so we better make sure that the base game works really well and then try and do that. But I doubt that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just like, as far as it's not, and that's what's tough too, is a lot of people like in the Pokemon community have been able to like get past the bugs and get past the glitches and like all that. And they say underneath all that, it is like an amazing game. And it is a very, very fun Pokemon game. And I just have not gotten to that point yet where I also think it's a very fun game. But I hope to eventually. You know, I'll keep trying it. But it's like, it's not even like that this is like the worst game, you know, even though it's ranked pretty high. It is like the most disappointing game. It's like when your parents are talking to you, like, I'm not mad at you. I'm just disappointed.
And I would agree.
You know, like I'm just like, damn.
Well, I think that's kind of like when I'm weighing in these best and worst games of the year. Like, yeah, objectively, are these like the worst games? No, there's probably worse games out there.
Right? Yeah, like technically like, worst games, but it's just like this is the one that like made me.
But like,
sad.
there's some weight to like the amount of money that goes into develop it, the time we wait for it, the hype behind it. Like,
right, exactly.
Yeah,
that all plays into it. Right? There is so much like emotion that goes into it, and then when that just like gets ripped out from underneath you, you're just like, oh, well,
like it's kind of like.
But yeah, and so then next was Mario Strikers, which again, super similar story to Wii Sports. The game comes out, and Nintendo's been really pissing me off lately with these releases of like these sports games that they keep trying to do, because they've did Mario Golf as well. They've done Mario Tennis for the Switch, and then the latest one was Mario Strikers, which is arguably the best Mario sports game. It's the soccer one, yeah. And it's so much fun. And the one on GameCube is immaculate. And what they've been doing is they want to release stuff, because it's what they did with Splatoon when the Switch first came out, and it worked well for that game, was they released the game, and it's the base game. And everybody plays the base game, and it's really fun. Then they do, like a few months later or whatever, they do a free content update where you just download stuff, and it's like, hey, here's like 2 new maps, or a new game mode, or like whatever. And it's all just free, and they just add it. And so, like, for Splatoon, they added new weapons, they added new maps, they added new items, like, everything, just for free. Like, here you go, thanks for playing our game, here's some more stuff. Yeah. You're like, that's cool, okay, yeah, we'll do that. And it worked out really well. So then they took that and went, like, cranked it to 11 for Mario games, and they'll, like, add new characters, they'll add new courses, like, in the golf one, they added new courses, they'll add all this stuff later, and new game modes and stuff. But the problem is, when they're holding, and you can tell they're holding everything back to release as content.
Yeah.
Later. You know what I mean? With Splatoon, they developed that stuff after the game had been released. Yeah. You know, and they're like, hey, thanks for treating our game so well and everybody buying it. We're going to reward you with adding this new stuff. With Mario, what they're doing is they're making 100% of the game, and what they sell you for $60 is 80% of the game, and then they release free content updates that finish the last 20%. You know? Yeah. So, like, you don't have to pay any more than your $60 that you put in. It's not like DLC or, like, Call of Duty, you know, where you have to pay, where you used to have to pay for the maps and stuff that were already on the disc, you know? They're just holding that content back to release later to give the illusion that the game has a long life, you know? And then if it doesn't work out well or the game doesn't sell well or whatever, then they're just like, all right, cool, yeah, we don't have to worry about releasing this stuff, or let's save some money on it. Don't worry about finishing developing that.
Yeah.
Like, we're just not going to release it. So anyway, to get back to soccer, when it launched, you had there was 5 teams or something. You could do 5 captains, and the soccer field is this big, and so you're running across it way too fast. The super moves aren't that cool as they're supposed to be. And the big thing is co-op, and I can't remember exactly what it was because I haven't played it in a really long time. And I think they patched it in, but you used to not be able to play. It's 4v4 is the teams.
Yeah.
And you used to not be able to be able to connect 8 switches together to play. You could only do 2. So you would have to control 2 people. I'd control 2 people. Then the other people we're playing against would each control 2 people. So you could connect 4 switches.
Okay.
But say we had 8 people together.
Yeah.
We could not each have 8 switches, and each of us take control of one character and all play together.
Stupid.
And it's what do you mean?
Yeah, that's really stupid.
Why not? And you're oh, well, how are you going to have an 8-player thing? Well, everybody has their own screen, so it's not it has to cut the TV into 8 parts.
And you can just do a FIFA thing where it just shows the field.
Right, exactly. For everybody on their own screens and whatever, right? And Smash Brothers has 8-player Smash, where it's the battlefield, and then just every player is just on it, you know? Yeah. And you can do 8 players.
So, the technology is there.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. There's no technical limitation as to why it shouldn't happen.
It's just
Nintendo just didn't do it. Right.
Yeah.
And then to do it online. And so then you couldn't do it online either. And I think you couldn't take somebody in your room. So it couldn't be you and me each on a Switch on the same team and then go online and play against people either. It wouldn't work. And then for us to play online, you couldn't do 4 people on a system going up against a team online. You could only do 2 people, I think. So it would have to be you and me and then go online with 2 computer players on our team. We couldn't have 4 controllers and have a team of 4, have a party of 4 go online and play against other people. It just, the whole online thing was just absolute garbage. And you're Nintendo, how did you fuck this up that bad?
Yeah.
And so, the game just died, and there was, no characters, and then they're oh, well, we're gonna release Daisy, as a free content update. And then, she got delayed or something, and so then, she didn't come out, and now she's out, and, now they've added, new characters and stuff. But it's cool, is that it?
Yeah, it's just
I'm waiting forever to get Daisy on my team. That's stupid. No, I want something new. And it's every game is basically still just the same game over and over again. I understand FIFA and 2K and all that. You're just playing soccer over and over again. But this one, it's so fast because you run across the field so fast. There's not really a lot of time to steal the ball and you can make tackles and stuff. But it's just not there. But then you look at the GameCube one and you're but that one's still just as fun.
Yeah.
And it's still the same thing. And there's no online for that. But just the items were fun. The captains were fun. The special moves were fun. The courses or the fields rather looked super cool. And then this one, it was just the most bare bones thing, which is what Nintendo's been doing with all of their sports games lately. All the Mario sports games have been just so vanilla and bare bones.
I guess I'm not the target audience, but these games, they just seem so why would I want to what?
Exactly.
It just seems it almost seems like a Mario Party mini game,
right?
That people liked, and they're let's sell it for $60 or $50, whatever it is for Switch games. I don't know, and it's just is there enough there to really make it a good game?
Right. And that's the thing, and there is the content there that they could put into the game to do it, but Nintendo's just nah, we're just gonna hold it back and release it later and whatever. And everybody knows that the content is done, and they're just. So they get to release
locked behind not a
paywall even.
It's a time wall.
Yeah, exactly. So they can release an infographic on Instagram that
says, it seems like it's
it
seems like that's
our roadmap.
And that's the thing. It's it almost seems like that's their way of keeping people around because they realize there's not enough in this game to keep people playing continually.
Exactly.
Unless we add new stuff that brings people back.
Exactly. And it worked with Splatoon again because it was actually good shit that they added.
Yeah.
And so that's why they think, oh, it worked here, so we're just going to apply it to everything.
Yeah.
And it's well, you shouldn't do that.
Because it doesn't work.
Right, exactly. And then to release and then they realized, oh, well, we should have stuff online. That's why they added an online to Mario Soccer and all that. And it's cool. But then it's the most half-assed, bare bones online system ever. And you're oh, you were this close. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Come on. So, I don't know. So, again, it's not that it's technically a terrible game. It doesn't crash. It doesn't break your system. It doesn't anything. It's just disappointing.
Yeah.
That we're this close to getting an awesome game, and then you fuck
fell
it up.
short, yeah.
You know, so but whatever. So that's why I put those games on there.
What was I forget where.
And then
I shouldn't.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah. Yeah.
How did I forget that
yeah,
one?
Right, yeah. I know, we
Um,
both put that. This one scored a perfect 10.
Yeah,
We both said this was the worst game, and I've never even played it.
and
I just know how terrible, based on the internet, but go ahead.
and it's Battlefield.
You played it.
Yeah, I played quite a bit. Like
Okay.
I gave it. I've played 3 different versions.
Okay.
So I have.
It's
given-
Battlefield 2042.
It's Battlefield
also, by the way.
2042. Yes, and I think it's very self-explanatory why that game was a piece of shit.
Mhm.
Underdeveloped, glitchy, broken. The previous gen versions literally were borderline unplayable.
Okay.
Like I mean, like
PS4 and Xbox One.
yes, like
Okay.
so, and I think it might have been part of the issue was that I played the PS4 version on a PS5. So I think there was some like weird kind of like coding issues with it because it got to the point where like it felt like every game was lagging. Like I would hit a button and then like a second later it would do it in the screen.
Oh, okay.
So like and the graphics were appalling. I mean like you'd get shading and textures. It looked like stuff wouldn't load in.
Yeah.
The game would crash. I mean, it was just there was a lack of content. There was barely any maps, barely any weapons. I think they kind of did like a Nintendo thing where they're like, "Oh, here's our roadmap of releasing stuff," and it just like no one cared. The game died after like a week because they realized like no one wanted to play it. And now, yeah, the game's okay now. Like it plays well. But, like, it's just so disappointing because Battlefield is one of my favorite game series of all time. Battlefield 1 was fantastic, the World War I one. I loved Battlefield 5. I know some people didn't, but, like, to me, that game was really good.
Yeah.
So when they announced 2042, I was like, oh my god, this is going to be fucking sick. Like, somewhat futuristic, so they can get kind of weird with the vehicles and the weapons. Like, cool. I'm all for it. And it was just a complete dumpster fire. And then the fact that it was all multiplayer and it was as much of a dumpster fire as it was just like, there was nothing redeemable about this game. They added a DMZ or Escape from Tarkov type mode, which looked really cool in the trailers, and then you played it in the game and it was just dumb.
Okay.
Like everything about this game just fell flat. There was so many glitches, so many bugs, lack of content. Everything was just boring as shit. The maps sucked. They were gimmicky. They had like the whole storm thing, which could have been really cool if the game worked. But like this, I think was the worst game, not only because of like everything we've talked about where it's disappointing, but also which is a broken piece of shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
it was technically
bad. Fucked
right.
up. Like there's no other way to say it. Like it was just
Yeah.
a fucking broken game.
Oh yeah, that's so sad.
And yeah, it was fucking awful. And they had so much promise because they also had that Portal mode, which basically brought in all the old games. You could play like Battlefield 42. Badco 2.
Oh, wow.
Battlefield 3, and I think maybe even Battlefield 4. I can't remember if they had 4 in there or not. And that was like, oh my god, that's so fucking cool. But then you realize they added like one map from every game, half the weapons, and it was like, so this isn't even really, it's like you just are, and I'm sure they had some like, oh, we'll release more content as the year goes on, but it's like, fuck you, EA. Like,
right, yeah, that's what I was going to say. There's another EA joint, right up there with
shit,
F1.
yeah, and it's just, it was just appalling. And I think they've already like basically like abandoned.
Right.
Like,
I mean, I've heard nobody talk about it.
I've heard nobody talk about it, and I think, like, and what ultimately I think that was also kind of heartbreaking is that, like, I think Battlefield will probably not have another game for a very long time.
Really?
I mean, I think it's almost like series killing, because I don't think Battlefield 5 sold very well.
Okay.
And then I think that on top of 2042 is just utter fucking disaster. I'm hoping it doesn't kill the series, because like I said, I love Battlefield.
Right.
But, I don't know. They just need to release Badco 3.
That's what I was going to say. You think by now, then we'd get a Badco 3.
I don't understand
that's
why.
The only thing I can
And I
save
don't
the
understand why they
series.
don't do it, because like everyone is just like, please just do a third one. Like,
Right, because those were
this is
so
what we
good.
want.
Those were fun, and I remember playing Battlefield 3 on 360. And that was
Battlefield
like one of
3
the first
was fantastic.
like online experiences I ever had on my 360. Was
Badco 1, Badco 2, Battlefield 3, and Battlefield 4. I think that, like, Battlefield 4, well, maybe a little bit. It was good, but that, like, stretch of Battlefield, I think, was some of the best first-person shooter games we've ever had. I think they were better than Call of Duty at that point. I think Battlefield really was, like, was way better. They, like, had, I think, the FPS market, and then I think now it's shifting back towards COD with Warzone. But
yeah, and I'm surprised they haven't done something like that. Like, there's no like battle royale.
They did a battle royale in Battlefield 5.
Mm.
I thought it was okay. I just think that it was in a period of time when the battle royale market was very oversaturated, and nothing To me, I think it would have been perfect because like Battlefield was so crazy and hectic that I think our Battle Royale could have worked really well in that game.
Mhm.
And I think it did. I just think it was kind of boring and no one really played Battlefield. Like their player base just wasn't there. The content really wasn't there. It was just kind of weird. I think it could have been very good, but just didn't have the hallmarks. I also think it should have been free to play. It wasn't. It was a lot to find Battlefield 5. You had to have Battlefield 5 to have.
Oh,
and
okay.
when it got released too, it was really weird. They had like solos and like maybe trios, and that was it.
Oh, okay.
So it was like, okay, if we had 4 friends, like
Right.
one guy's getting dropped. If you had 2, you couldn't do it. You had to play.
Right.
So I think it was just kind of like, I think they
just
like
weird.
were kind of like, oh shit, let's just throw something together and get it out.
Yeah.
But it was cool because the idea was called Firestorm.
Okay.
So the circle was fire, and
Uh-oh.
it collapsed in on the map. And I don't know if it did or not, but I think it destroyed shit in its path.
Oh, okay.
So if you were like in
the
a house, like the
environments
house
and all
caught
that.
on fire,
Oh,
and
that's
it melted.
cool. Yeah.
I think I could be wrong about that, but so it could have been really cool. But
Yeah.
but getting back to 2042, that game was just a piece of shit. Like,
Right.
biggest dumpster fire piece of shit. And I played it
Huh.
on PC, PS5, and I played the PS4 version on the PS5. I don't know if that made a difference or not, but
Yeah.
the PS4, or I'm sorry, the PS5 version and the PC version were fine. They worked okay, but
Yeah.
fuck that game. That game
All
was
right.
just that game
That's
was
a bummer.
Just, yeah.
And I wanted to try it because, like you said, like I like the Battlefield games, and
Yeah.
that game, I swear, it was like 2 weeks after it came out, it was like $10.
Oh yeah, no.
Like immediately, it
yeah.
was dirt cheap, and I
it came
almost
out
picked it up.
in
and
I
then
think
didn't.
November,
Mhm.
and I remember by like Christmas time, it was like $30,
Right.
and I was like, "Oh fuck it, let's just buy it." Like it can't be that bad. Like
Right.
it can't be that bad.
Yeah.
It was.
It was that bad.
It was that
actually
bad.
Yeah.
It was that bad.
So right, yeah, and that's just a bummer because like I wanted to play it and I wanted to
Yeah.
try because the concept looked really cool.
Yes.
You said like the futuristic and all that. And then I've
could've
always
been.
and I see it like pop up every so often now for like $10, like deal of the day at Best Buy or something, and I'm just like I don't even think you're worth $10.
Like I said, I've
So-
got 2 copies of it that we
Right,
cross
there
play
you go.
together.
Right, perfect. So
So
that's what we
we're
can
gonna
do.
get to that
that is the worst game that was played
in
in 2022.
yes, Battlefield
2042. So 20 years to go, and then.
yeah.
Let's see what happens.
We'll see what happens. Yeah.
Okay, so as of right now, so that's the worst list. Just a quick recap.
Yep.
We had at the bottom of the list was Elden Ring and Rainbow Six at a
Extraction,
tie.
yep.
Yeah, Rainbow Six Extraction. Yeah, and then next was Lego Star Wars and Gran Turismo 7. Then it was F1 22 and Nintendo Switch Sports. Then Call of Duty Vanguard all by itself. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and Mario Strikers were the next worst, almost the worst game we played this year. And then the absolute worst game that was played in 2022 was Battlefield 2042. So there
I
you
think it was a
have
good mix of Nintendo first-person shooters.
Yes, yeah,
racing
it was a good
games.
thing, right? And I think that's what really shined through there was we play very different games,
Yeah.
and so it's nice to get a nice, well-rounded.
Yeah.
You know, it would kind of be boring if we only played the exact same games
Yeah.
and that's all. You know, we
Yeah.
had to talk about it. So yeah, that's
So
it.
now let's get off the negative and talk about
Some positives.
some positives.
I